Welcome to Michelle's Making Coffee, Crafts, Cookies, and Cocktails. If you like what you see, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Don't forget to comment and let me know what you like.
Welcome and welcome back to those of you who are returning. I really do appreciate that. Happy New Year. I hope you've had a safe and great week with your family and friends. Thank you so much for joining me again. Today is National Bloody Mary Day, so we're going to enjoy that later with our adult beverage. But we're going to get going with a cookie recipe, which is an oatmeal, raisin, and nut cookie, and it's delicious. I hope you'll give it a try. I've got a couple of crafts we're working on today, but first, a shout out to my beautiful sister-in-law in North Carolina. She gifted me a heat gun, and it has been a blessing to take stickers off and loosen up glitter for scraping and drying paint in between steps. So thank you, Mela, I really do appreciate it. And today, we're going to work on those crafts. Get started first with our coffee, and peppermint mocha is the flavor of the day. So let's make it a great day. Let's get started making these delicious oatmeal and raisin cookies. For this recipe, you'll need all-purpose flour, brown sugar, butter, eggs, baking powder, cinnamon, vanilla, salt, baking soda, granulated sugar, and of course, oatmeal and raisins. You'll begin by sifting together the flour, cinnamon, salt, baking soda, and baking powder. I start by putting half of the flour into the sifter and adding the other ingredients, sifting that through and adding the remaining flour. Then you'll set all this aside to add towards the end. I'm going to put the recipe in the description box. Now it's time to start creaming the butter. Having a stand mixer makes this so handy and easy. You can do it with a hand mixer. It just gets a little tiresome having to hold that the whole time. We'll add the granulated sugar first and then the brown sugar and let that continue to cream. Next, you're going to add the vanilla and the eggs one at a time. Now make sure and scrape the bowl and the beaters frequently with this recipe. Let this mix well, and also scrape down the bowl and the beaters before you start adding the flour. Add the flour a little at a time, mixing well with each addition. Once all the flour has been added, it's time to add the oatmeal. Add half of it at a time and mix well with each addition. Now it's time to add the raisins, and you can mix these in by hand. You'll drop about a tablespoonful of dough on a cookie sheet that's been lined with parchment paper and place the cookies about 1.5 inches apart. You're going to bake them in an oven that's been preheated to 375 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes. Keep an eye on them. When they're nice and golden light brown, it's time to take them out. You may recall me saying that not everyone in our house likes nuts, so I add them to the second half of the dough. And there you have it, our delicious oatmeal and raisin cookies with or without nuts. Our first craft is a coffee and cocoa bar sign. I used a collage frame from the Five Below store. I got this for free though because my granddaughter picked a couple of these up from a friend of hers who was moving and getting rid of them. We'll begin by taking the back off and removing the paper and the glass inserts. Set the glass aside for now. Next, using the Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white, I did a dry brush technique on my frame. Now you could use any color you liked, and you could go as light or as heavy as you want as well, but I just wanted a light coat so that some of the black shows through. Next, using the antique wax, I did a dry brush technique again to lightly give it some dimension with the brown. So now I've got the black, the linen white, and the brown, giving the piece some dimension and color. The next thing I did was measured out the paper insert to see what size I would need to cut my paper to. I cut my craft paper to size, and now I'm laying it out to see where I like the design best. Once I find where I want everything, I then glue it down on the paper. I just used Elmer's glue to glue it down and used a very light coating, applying it with a makeup sponge. While that dried, I cleaned the glass and returned it to the frame, and then I added the paper and the back of the frame. For the sayings that I was going to put on the glass, I went to Cricut Design Space, and I started with a definition of coffee for the center area. And then I printed out 4 other designs, 2 for coffee and 2 for hot chocolate. Once I decided where each design was going to go, I rubbed them in place and peeled off the transfer tape. If you don't have a Cricut or a Silhouette machine, most of the craft stores do carry rub-on letters, vinyl lettering, and also in the scrapbook section, there's a lot of design patterns, including some coffee patterns. So you can always check there. You could also use a marker and hand draw something on here. Now, I prefer to use my Cricut because I don't feel I have the best handwriting, but you can get creative here if you don't have a Cricut machine. Once all the designs are transferred, I decide to use some of the jute cord that I've had and have used on several of my projects and wrap around the upper left-hand cornered frame and tie it off with a simple knot. And then I made a simple bow by wrapping the cord around my fingers and tying it off. Now this bow that I add to the right side is ribbon I got from the Dollar Tree, and it's a really cute ribbon. I had used it in another project. But I just made a regular shoelace type bow and added a couple of little pine cones in the center. So I just did a little something simple, but just adding some embellishment because it looked a little too plain to me with just having the designs of the sign. But you can add more if that appeals to you, or omit that if you prefer it plain. I almost wish I'd gone with a black vinyl. It would have showed up a little better on camera. And there you have it, the coffee cocoa bar sign. My second project today is a very simple and easy one. For this, you'll need the burner cover set from the Dollar Tree and 2 candlestick holders. Now, the burner cover set at Dollar Tree is sold in a package of 2. And for this, I used the Rust-Oleum chalk spray paint in Serenity Blue and spray painted those burner covers. And for the candlesticks, I spray painted them with the Rust-Oleum chalked blush pink. Now, I had these candlesticks already, but they do sell them at the Dollar Tree, and you can use pretty much any design. I just thought these were small enough because this is a small tier tray. Now, for placement, the burner cover can go with the lip up or the lip down, either one. Depending on what you're going to use it for, you might like the lip up to prevent things from rolling off. But for my purposes, I decided to go with the lip down so that if something was a little larger and hung over the side, it wouldn't be a problem. And I began by using E6000 and glued the candlestick to the larger of the burner covers, and I did that with the small side or the candle side of the candlestick down. Now for the smaller burner cover, I actually glued it the opposite way with the larger portion on the burner cover. That freed up a little bit more space on the bottom portion of the tier stand. Once that dried, I took my Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white and did a dry brushing all along the edges and a little bit across the top. I really felt this gave it a nice distressed shabby chic look, and it's perfect with my decor. I encourage you to be creative, and when you are watching crafts being made or looking at things in the stores that you want to attempt to make, be creative in using colors and design that fits your decor and are things that you like. You might not like this Serenity Blue and blush pink, so do completely different colors if you like. I dry brushed the candlesticks as well as the trays. And now it's time to use the E6000 again and glue the 2 pieces together. And there you have it, our tier stand. As promised, it's time for our Bloody Mary. Now, really what makes the Bloody Mary in many places is the garnish. I actually went to Hell's Kitchen in Minneapolis, and they served a Bloody Mary that was a meal in itself. I believe it had 28 garnish items. Now, you can make your Bloody Mary mix yourself, but I absolutely love Zing Zang, and it's available at most grocery stores. You'll need vodka also, of course, and Rose's lime juice, and then the garnish of your choice. Traditionally, celery and a lime wedge are the things that are in a Bloody Mary, but today we're adding quite a few little extras. This is a drink that's built over ice in a tall glass, and you'll start with 2 ounces of vodka, next you'll add your Bloody Mary mix. Now be sure and leave enough space at the top depending on how many garnishes you're adding. After the Bloody Mary mix, you'll put in a splash of the Rose's lime juice and then the garnishes of your choice. We have a beef stick, a celery stick, a skewer with bacon-wrapped shrimp, olives, mild peppers, and a lemon wheel and a lime wheel. And there you have it, a delicious Bloody Mary. Cheers!
Well, folks, that's it for another week. Thanks again for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed what you see. Be sure to comment. Let me know the things that you like or the things that you'd like to see. I really do appreciate that. If you haven't already, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share with your family and friends to help this channel grow. I do appreciate that. Meanwhile, let's make it a great week. I'll see you here next Friday. Don't forget to make time to smell the coffee.